easy to let our differences divide us, but all this month we're looking for ways to actually celebrate our differences. Therapist Julie Hanks is here with 6 strategies to help women specifically embrace differences and come together. I love this topic, and you actually say it's common for women to view other women's differences, their race, their religion, their education, maybe their marital status, to view those differences in a negative way is actually common?
It is.
How come?
Well, I think we look to other people often to kind of see where we measure up and where we fit in, and it's such a huge mistake, because really another person's choices or lifestyle means nothing about us. And I think the first step in kind of embracing those differences is to accept ourselves.
So it starts with you.
Yeah, it really starts with accepting your own life and what you've been given and what you've chosen. And when we do that, it's so much easier to kind of put our arms around all different kinds of people with different lifestyles and different choices.
Because you're okay with you. The phrase that jumped out reading over your notes, which fabulous article online, the phrase that jumped out in this particular tip of accepting yourself to me was, criticism is rooted in insecurity. So when we're critical of others, really it's like holding up a mirror, and it's a chance to evaluate our own issues.
Right. And so when someone really bothers you or you feel really critical, there's something for you to learn about yourself in that. They're mirroring something that you don't like about yourself.
And you say you learned this lesson personally through education.
I did. So early on, I had a baby, and I thought, why do I have this drive to go to school? I mean, I was in school for a long time, and then I had another child, and I just thought it was hard for me to accept that was important for me. And a lot of other moms around me were really happy being at home with their kids, and I thought, why am I complicating my life for years?
Why make it harder?
Right. And so I kind of had this inner conflict about my own choice. And as I got more comfortable with that, I was able to embrace the stay-at-home moms, the working moms, and there wasn't such a
divide.
Yeah, and I just found, like, once I got more comfortable with what my life path was, it was easier to accept other people's.
Makes so much sense. Accepting yourself, step 1.
Yeah.
Step 2, you say we should eliminate, as women, we should eliminate the shoulds. What do you mean by that?
So when I say, you know, I should be more like you, Brooke, it's criticizing you. Or if I say, you should be more like me, you know, it's critical either way. So if we eliminate the shoulds and embrace the differences, that my path is going to be different than yours, it's so much easier. We should ourselves, we should other people, in order to justify our own choices, and make ourselves take that word entirely out of it. Yes.
And not just what we should do or should not do, but what we should be, right? I mean, we have those expectations set for ourselves.
Right. And I think, especially with working and stay-at-home moms, there's kind of this huge divide. And it doesn't have to be that way, because all moms work. It's just, you know, how much time you spend where, and every mom that I know is fiercely dedicated to their kids. And so I think when we make that line, it's to make us feel better about our own choice. And really, other people's choices have nothing to do with us.
Right.
It means nothing.
So instead of she should be spending more time with her kids and her family,
or she should be contributing more to the income, or she should do something more important with her life, or she should. Right.
Yes,
we
get
do
rid
that.
of the shoulds.
Yep. Just throw them out.
Differences in general. I was so glad we were exploring this topic all this month, because differences in general, I think, on the surface, you assume, oh, they're going to divide. They're going to separate. You say differences can actually inspire.
Yes. Yes, and I mentioned my friend Sarah before on the show a couple years ago. She's 90 years old, and she has been one of the dearest friends in my life. And I learned from her wisdom and her life experiences, things that I couldn't, you know, I haven't crossed those bridges yet. It was so wonderful. And then I had a really great discussion on Facebook with a lot of women there, variety of women. And a friend, Kaya Purvis, she said something really great about, she learned to sew from a woman in her church group, and sharing talents can be a way that we can inspire each other. Instead of being threatened by someone else's talent or ability or trait, you can say, teach me that. How can I want to learn that. And so instead of comparing, you inspire you aspire to develop that skill.
It's a positive spin.
Right.
And it puts a positive spin on their relationship.
Yeah.
Your next tip, go below the surface. And this is something you get to do all the time as a therapist.
Yeah, when you feel like there's a difference between you and someone, it's because you haven't gone below the surface. You don't know the depth of their story. And like you said, that's what I love about my job as a therapist, is that every time I meet with someone, I get to go below the surface. And people make sense once you get the whole story. And it's such an honor to be in that position a lot, because I see, oh, on the surface, people look different, but you get below, everybody wants to be loved, everybody wants to feel like they matter, they're making a contribution. So we're really all the same underneath the surface.
The hang up for me sometimes, though, in cracking beneath the surface is it does take time and trust. It takes, I guess, time to build the trust. So it has to be a difference you're willing to invest in. I guess.
But if you're open to it, people will be more open to sharing with you. And if you ask, people usually want to talk about themselves and share their story, because that's a way that we feel known and we feel valued. So it's not as hard as it may seem, and it doesn't take as long.
Finally, we hear this phrase often, but probably can't emphasize it enough: the grass is not necessarily greener on the other side.
It's not, and as we have relationships with different women, it can really help us appreciate what we do have. Shauna Henry is another Facebook friend. She had a great quote that she celebrates variety in her friendships by getting involved in things that they like to do. And that can really help us appreciate, if you're talking with a single friend, you go, well, gosh, I'm married, thinking, oh, well, I can appreciate my flawed marriage because she would really like to have any kind of relationship at this point. Or the single person could say, wow, I need to appreciate my independence. I don't have to answer to anybody. I don't have to ask, check with someone. And so we can learn to appreciate what we do have by getting to know people who are different from us. And I want to challenge our viewers to seek out someone who's different to make friends. If you go in a room or you're at an event, seek out someone who is different and ask, what can I learn from them? Because we need that variety in our relationships. That's how we can grow.
Great advice, Julie, as always. Great perspective.
Thanks, Brooke.
I'm going to accept that challenge. I know a lot of people are as well. So it's a fun way to celebrate, really, this whole theme of celebrating differences. And Julie has posted her article on how to celebrate differences on our website. You want to look for it at studio5.ksl.com. Darren?